Blackthorn Hollow, a town shrouded in whispers. Legends whispered from generation to generation. Tales of a mansion, abandoned, decaying. Its silhouette a jagged scar against the stormy twilight. They called it Widow's Folly, a name uttered with fear. A place where men met their end. The mansion stood as a monument to tragedy, its once grand facade now crumbling. Windows like vacant eyes stared out blindly. They spoke of forgotten secrets. Dark secrets that clung to the mist-wreathed grounds like cobwebs. Local folklore spoke of Seraphina, the Black Widow, a woman of captivating beauty and of chilling cruelty. They said she lured men into her web of charm, only to meet a gruesome end, their life force, their very souls, consumed to fuel her own immortality. The stories sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. But for Lila, they were a siren's call, an irresistible invitation into the heart of darkness. Lila wasn't like the others. Fear was a stranger to her. The darkness held an allure, a fascination that bordered on obsession. She was a paranormal investigator, drawn to the unexplained like a moth to a flickering flame. The stories of Widow's Folly had haunted her for months. The mansion, with its grim history and spectral legends, called to her. She craved to unravel its secrets, to confront the darkness that lingered within its shadowed halls. Carefully, she laid out her tools, her camera, EMF reader, and a silver locket containing an antique mirror. Each item was a weapon against the unknown, a shield against the darkness she was about to face. The air crackled with anticipation as she packed. Tonight, she would step into the belly of the beast. Tonight, she would meet the Black Widow. And perhaps, just perhaps, she would uncover the truth behind the legend. A chill wind howled as Lila pushed open the creaking door of Widow's Folly. The air inside was stale and heavy. The scent of decay clung to the shadows, thick and suffocating. Moonlight filtered through the grimy windows, casting long dancing shadows. She stepped into the parlor, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Dust lay heavy on the once opulent furniture, shrouding the room in a ghostly pall. The air was thick with a palpable sense of dread. It pressed down on her, threatening to suffocate. Her gaze fell upon a grand piano in the corner, its ebony surface coated in dust. A single sheet of music lay open on the stand, its melody forever silenced. As she reached out to touch the yellowed parchment, a cold gust of wind swept through the room. It sent a shiver down her spine, a prickle of warning. Something wasn't right. She could feel it in her bones. This house, it was more than just a decaying mansion. It was a crypt, a vessel for something ancient and evil. The mansion seemed to watch Lila's every move as she ventured deeper into its depths. Each creaking step, each gust of wind sent shivers down her spine. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the sound of her own breath. She found herself in the grand dining room, a long mahogany table stretching out before her. The chairs were overturned, as if in the midst of a hasty escape. The remnants of a feast lay scattered across the table, rotted fruit, gnawed bones, and empty goblets. The sight sent a wave of nausea through her. As she reached out to touch a tarnished silver goblet, she heard it. A whisper, soft and chilling, carried on the wind. "Leave, while you still can." The hair on the back of her neck stood on end. Her heart pounded in her chest. Was it the wind playing tricks on her, or was it something more sinister? She spun around, searching for the source of the voice, but there was nothing but shadows and dust. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, hunted. Panic began to gnaw at the edges of Lila's composure. The whispers grew louder, more insistent as she climbed the grand staircase. They seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, warning her, threatening her. She found herself drawn to a room at the end of the hallway. The door creaked open as if inviting her in. The air inside was heavy with the scent of perfume and decay. A chill ran down her spine as she realized what it reminded her of: a mortuary. In the center of the room stood a four-poster bed draped in rotting velvet curtains. A chill ran down her spine as her eyes fell upon the figure lying on the bed. It was the skeletal form of a man dressed in a tattered suit. His empty eye sockets seemed to stare right through her, and then she saw it, a single black rose clutched in the skeleton's bony fingers. The rose was as fresh as if it had just been plucked, its petals a deep velvety black. The sight sent a wave of nausea through her. This wasn't just a haunting, it was a warning. Lila's breath caught in her throat as she stumbled back from the gruesome sight. The whispers seemed to be closing in on her, swirling around her like a vortex of despair. The air grew thick and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. The temperature plummeted, sending a shiver down her spine. The shadows in the room seemed to writhe and twist, taking on menacing forms. The sweet scent of decay intensified, choking her, suffocating her. She watched in horror as a single drop of crimson liquid dripped from the black rose onto the skeleton's hand. It wasn't water. It looked disturbingly like blood, fresh blood. The air crackled with energy, and a figure began to solidify beside the bed. A woman, tall and elegant, with flowing raven hair and piercing green eyes that seemed to burn with an unnatural light. She was beautiful, captivating, but there was a coldness in her gaze, a hunger that sent chills down Lila's spine. Lila's blood ran cold. This was Serafina, the Black Widow. The stories were true. Serafina turned her piercing gaze on Lila. A cold, cruel smile spread across her lips, revealing teeth that glinted unnaturally sharp in the dim light. The scent of decay intensified, emanating from her as if she were the source. "Welcome, child!" Serafina's voice was like silk over broken glass, a melody both alluring and terrifying. "To my humble abode." Her eyes seemed to bore into Lila's very soul, reading her deepest fears, her darkest desires. Lila's mind raced. She had to do something, to say something, but the words caught in her throat. The air around Serafina crackled with dark energy, holding her captive in a web of fear. "Do not be afraid, child," Serafina chuckled, the sound sending a shiver down Lila's spine. Not yet, at least. She extended a hand towards Lila, her long pale fingers tipped with blood-red nails that glinted like rubies. "Come, join me. We have much to discuss." Lila fought against the urge to step back, to flee from the chilling presence before her. Serafina's beauty was disarming, but her eyes held an ancient hunger, a darkness that threatened to consume Lila whole. She clutched the silver locket at her throat, her fingers tracing the intricate design. It was her only comfort, her only protection against the chilling presence that stood before her. "Don't listen to her," a voice whispered urgently. "She'll trap you here forever." It was the voice from before, but this time it seemed closer, clearer. Lila realized with a start that it was coming from the locket itself. She glanced down at the locket, her heart pounding in her chest. The locket was warm to the touch, pulsing with a faint ethereal light. As she watched, a ghostly image began to form in the tiny mirror. It was a young woman, her face pale and drawn, her eyes wide with fear. She looked eerily familiar, but Lila couldn't place her. The ghostly woman opened her mouth as if to speak, but no sound came out. Still, Lila understood. She had to get out, now. Adrenaline surged through Lila's veins. She had to escape. The ghostly warning echoed in her mind, urging her to flee, but Serafina's presence held her captive, a spider patiently weaving its web around her. "Don't be so hasty, child," Serafina purred, her voice a hypnotic siren's call. "The night is young. We have eternity to get acquainted." She took a step closer, her eyes burning with a possessive light. Lila stumbled back, her hand clutching the locket as if it were a lifeline. She could feel Serafina's power pulling at her, trying to drag her down into the darkness. She had to break free. She closed her eyes and focused on the ghostly voice, drawing strength from its warning. And then she ran. She didn't look back, didn't dare to see if Serafina was following. Lila burst out of the mansion and into the night, the cool air stinging her lungs. She didn't stop running until she reached her car, the engine roaring to life, a symphony of escape. As she sped away, she cast one last glance at Widow's Folly, its silhouette a jagged scar against the dawning sky. Serafina's laughter echoed in her mind, a chilling promise that this wasn't over. The Black Widow's web was vast, its threads spun from secrets and lies, and Lila had just stumbled right into its heart.